This story is titled, I Let My Brother Move In After His Divorce. One day, I heard him on the phone. She doesn't even know I'm not paying rent. I waited, then sent him an eviction notice. Signed by my new lawyer girlfriend. He tried to protest, but she reminded him that mansplaining doesn't work on attorneys. Before you decide I went nuclear, you need to understand something about my brother. Jake, 35M, is the kind of guy who thinks doing the bare minimum earns him a medal. He's charming in the same way a used car salesman is charming, fun, until you realize you've just bought a lemon and he's already 2 margaritas deep on your dime. I'm Mark, 32M, the quiet one in the family, aka the human doormat according to my father Ron, a man who believed parenting meant yelling at his kids like they were soldiers in a movie where everyone dies in the first 20 minutes. My mom Linda? Well, she's like decorative parsley. Technically present, but no one really notices unless she's missing. Jake has always been the golden boy. Played football in high school, dated girls with names like Kayla or Tiffany, had that glowy mom's favorite energy. Meanwhile, I was the introverted kid who liked numbers and didn't scream during Thanksgiving. Naturally, I became the family disappointment. Anyway, Jake's wife finally snapped and booted him. Long overdue, honestly. She caught him cheating with someone from work while she was at her grandmother's funeral. Yeah, that level of class. He needed a place to stay. I'm not heartless. I had a guest room and a bad habit of letting people walk all over me, so I said yes. For the first few weeks, it was fine. He was quiet, disappeared most of the day, and mostly kept to himself. I figured, okay, maybe life smacked some humility into him. Spoiler, it didn't. Rent day came. Nothing. I didn't make a big deal of it at first, just asked if he needed time. Bro, he said, with that sleazy grin of his, I'm just getting my footing. I'll square up next month. Except next month came. And then the next. And suddenly I was housing a grown man who acted like my couch came with maid service. He drank my coffee. Used my shampoo like he was trying to exfoliate his soul. Invited women over. Once, I caught him eating my leftover pizza and he actually said, I thought you were watching your carbs. I stared into the abyss that day. But none of that compares to what I overheard. I was walking down the hall to grab some laundry when I heard Jake in the guest room. On the phone. Laughing. She doesn't even know I'm not paying rent. Dumbass still thinks I'm broke. I'm stacking cash while living free. Dumbass. That's what he called me. I stood there, holding my laundry basket, realizing my kindness was just another punchline in his sad little comedy routine. I didn't say anything. Didn't knock. Just turned around, went back to my room, and started making plans. Because Jake didn't know something important. He didn't know I just started dating Emily. And Emily's a lawyer. A very good one. You ever have a moment so insulting, so utterly brazen, it doesn't even make you mad right away? Just kind of stuns you into silence? That was me, standing in my hallway, holding a basket of socks, while my brother bragged on the phone about how I was his unwitting sugar daddy. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was stewing in rage, oh no, that came later, but because I couldn't stop replaying that exact moment. The smugness in his voice. The way he knew he was getting away with it. Like I was just another idiot too polite to say no. I'd been housing Jake, feeding him, tolerating his middle-aged frat boy energy, while he gleefully told his friends I was stacking cash for him like it's a trust fund. I mean, really? I work in accounting. I know exactly how much ramen costs. This man was mooching and mocking me like I was an extra in Everybody Loves Raymond, the pity edition. But here's the part that really pushed it over the edge. 2 days after I overheard the call, Jake came into the kitchen and asked if I could spot him for gas money. I stared at him. Just stared. And he looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. I'll pay you back next week, bro. I've got something lined up. Just float me 40. Float you? I am not a fucking raft, Jake. I didn't say any of that. Instead, I smiled, nodded, and handed him a 50. Because I had a better idea. See, Jake didn't know one critical detail about my life. I'd recently started dating Emily, 30F, a whip-smart, sharp-tongued attorney who specializes in landlord-tenant law. And let me tell you, Emily does not tolerate freeloaders. Her favorite phrase is paper trail, and the second I told her about Jake, her eyes lit up like it was Christmas morning and Santa left her litigation. That night, over dinner, I explained everything. The unpaid rent. The dumbass comment. The phone call. She didn't even blink. She just wiped her mouth with a cloth napkin, because she's classy like that, and said, okay, we do this right. Step 1, documentation. I went back through every text, every calendar entry, and made notes of each time I reminded Jake about rent. I printed out bank statements, house expenses, even screenshots of my Venmo history showing that not once, had he paid me a dime. Emily helped me write a formal lease agreement with a backdated start date and a clause about rent payment being due the first of each month. All completely legal, all above board. Jake had signed a casual, house rules, doc when he moved in. Nothing fancy, just something I had on file from when I rented the guest room a few years back. Turns out, it helped. Step 2. Bide my time. Emily said we needed one last provable month of non-payment before we pulled the trigger. So I waited. Let him dig deeper. Let him post selfies at the bar, flexing a Rolex I know he didn't own before moving in. Let him bring back another marketing manager from Tinder who kept calling me Marv. I waited through it all, calm as a monk, smiling as he laughed at the dinner table, ate my leftovers, and called me chill. And then the moment came. End of the month. No rent. No attempt. Just Jake, lounging on my couch, drinking a beer he didn't buy, watching Fast and Furious 6 like it was motivational literature. I walked in, dropped a manila envelope on the coffee table, sat down across from him. "What's this?" he asked, mouthful of Doritos. "That," I said, "is your eviction notice." He laughed. "Bro, stop. You're not evicting me." Then he looked closer. His eyes scanned the letterhead. The signature at the bottom. Emily A. Reynolds, ESQ. And suddenly, he wasn't laughing anymore. Jake stared at the eviction notice like it was written in ancient Greek. His Dorito-stained fingers fumbled the pages, eyes darting like a raccoon that just realized the trash bin it broke and has a lock on it. For a good 20 seconds, he didn't say a word. Then he laughed. Of course he did. That wheezy, high-pitched laugh he does when he's nervous and trying to pretend he's not. "This is a joke, right?" I didn't answer. I just leaned back and took a sip of my coffee. I'd made it extra strong that morning. Revenge tastes better with a little caffeine. He flipped to the second page like he was looking for the punchline. "Wait, is this real? You're actually trying to evict me? Bro, we're family." That word, family, rang out like a fire alarm, shrill and insulting. "You've been here 5 months, Jake," I said, calmly. "Zero rent, zero respect, and, let's be honest, a negative contribution to society. This isn't personal. It's legal." That's when he saw the signature at the bottom again. Emily A. Reynolds, ESQ. My girlfriend. My brilliant, terrifying girlfriend. She could draft a cease and desist in her sleep and once got a slumlord to settle with a single phone call. She didn't write the eviction notice for me. She wrote it to make a point. Jake finally stood up, pacing like a sitcom dad who just found out he's not the favorite. "Wait, Emily wrote this? Your girlfriend?" He said girlfriend the way some people say disease. "She's a lawyer," I said. And she said, "Legally, you've been a tenant long enough to qualify for formal eviction. So congratulations." He started to protest, which is Jake's favorite hobby besides freeloading and trying to convince women he knows crypto. "You can't just kick me out, man. We never had a lease." "We do now," I said, calmly sliding a printed PDF across the table. "The one you electronically signed back in January when you moved in. Remember that room agreement I sent you?" You tapped, "I agree," and sent me that stupid gif of that monkey giving a thumbs up. "That counts." His jaw twitched. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" I opened my phone and pulled up the timestamped email. Here's the signature. Here's the receipt. And here's the notice to vacate, properly served. He stood there, stunned, then muttered, "You can't do this." And that's when Emily, in full attorney mode and heels that made her look 8 feet tall, walked into the room with a to-go coffee and said, "He's not doing it. I am. And FYI, mansplaining doesn't work on attorneys." I swear to God, I saw a vein in his forehead bulge. He tried to talk over her. Big mistake. She went full legal lioness, quoted the exact landlord-tenant code from our state, told him the timeline, and warned him that if he refused to vacate, we'd escalate to formal court filings. She even handed him a folder titled Helpful Resources for Finding a New Place to Stay. Inside was a list of Craigslist rooms, a coupon for an Airbnb, and, because Emily is both savage and efficient, a business card for a guy named Stan who runs a moving company and gives discounts for urgent evictions. Jake didn't say much after that. He stormed off, muttering something about betrayal and "you've changed." Which is rich, considering he once pawned our cousin's iPad to buy investment sneakers. He packed a bag that night. Not all of it, of course, just enough to keep playing the martyr. Left the rest of his crap scattered across the guest room like emotional debris. Typical Jake. Leaves a mess, blames the cleanup on everyone else. But I didn't care. I sat on the couch with Emily that night, scrolling Zillow listings for fun, while Jake stomped around in the background like a toddler who just found out Christmas isn't year-round. He had 30 days to vacate. And trust me, he was going to feel every single one of them. You ever watch someone unravel in slow motion? That was Jake over the next 2 weeks. He didn't leave. Of course he didn't. He lingered like mildew in a poorly ventilated bathroom, stewing in self-righteous anger and passive-aggressive breakfast behavior. You know the type, slamming cabinet doors, sighing loudly, rearranging my spice rack like that would somehow teach me a lesson. But he wasn't just being annoying. He was stalling. I could feel it. He started asking weird questions. So, technically, do I have to leave if I don't have anywhere to go? What if I declare, like, squatters' rights or something? What if I start paying you now? Does that reset the notice? Classic Jake. Reads one Reddit thread and thinks he's the second coming of Saul Goodman. Emily, bless her ruthless little heart, just smiled every time he tried to bait her into an argument. She told me, let him think he's being clever. Dumb men with fragile egos always expose themselves when they think they're winning. Then she took out a notebook and started documenting everything. God, I love that woman. So I watched. I waited. And I started digging. I didn't go full FBI, just some light social sleuthing. Jake's Instagram was the usual blend of shirtless gym selfies and motivational quotes he clearly didn't understand. But then I noticed something odd. The same gold chain kept popping up in every pic, even though he claimed he pawned all his valuables during the divorce. Then I saw it. Buried in the background of a mirror selfie, his ex-wife's Peloton. The one she fought to keep in the settlement. Wait, why was he at her place? Spoiler, he wasn't. I clicked on the tag location, some Airbnb in Westwood. The caption? Grinding through the storm. Hashtag hustle mindset, hashtag winning season. I zoomed in. There was a MacBook, a Rolex, and an open envelope that had my address on it. I felt my stomach flip. That mother, he was using my place as his legal residence while living somewhere else. Which meant he wasn't broke. He wasn't struggling. He was double dipping. Now, I've never considered myself a petty person. I do my taxes early. I return my shopping cart. I say bless you to strangers. But in that moment, I became someone else. Someone cold. Focused. Very, very petty. Emily and I put together a little list. Filed a mail forwarding notice to redirect all his junk to the Westwood Airbnb. Canceled our shared Wi-Fi for non-payment and opened a new plan with a fresh password. Moved every item of his out of the guest room, boxed and labeled pending pickup. Stored them in the garage next to the recycling bin. Fitting, really. Replaced the front door lock. I sent him the new key code. Then changed it the next day after he didn't use it. And my personal favorite, set up a Ring camera inside the guest room pointing at his untouched crap. Just in case he decided to get creative. But the real coup de grace came from Emily. One afternoon, she walked in holding a manila envelope and casually said, "Did you know he listed your address as his LLC headquarters for his consulting business?" "No," I replied, already seeing red. "Well, the IRS might want to." That night, I made a burner email. I sent a tip to the IRS. I used big words. Unreported income. Improper business address usage. Potential fraud. Attached screenshots, tagged the Airbnb account, and hit send. I slept like a baby. Jake, meanwhile, was spiraling. The Wi-Fi cutoff broke him faster than the eviction notice. He stormed into the living room and demanded to know what was going on. "You're kicking me when I'm down, bro?" I didn't flinch. "No, I'm just getting started." There's a moment, right before the avalanche, that everything goes quiet. That was me, standing in my kitchen, watching Jake yell about Wi-Fi like it was a human right. I didn't say a word. Just let the rage bounce off me like I was made of concrete. Because deep down, something in me had clicked. The man who once bent over backward for family? He died somewhere around the third missed rent payment and the dumbass phone call. I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake. Jake finally stormed off, slamming the guest room door like he was on a reality show. I gave him an hour. Then I got to work. First, I logged into my Ring camera feed. Yup. As predicted, he was calling someone loudly, complaining that I was going psycho, that he might have to lawyer up, and that I was violating his tenant rights. Tenant rights. You know who knows a lot about tenant rights? My girlfriend, Emily, who just so happened to be sitting beside me, sipping herbal tea and scrolling through statutes like it was Netflix. Technically, she said, not even looking up, if he hasn't been living here full-time and we have proof he's operating a business illegally from the residence, you could serve him an accelerated eviction timeline. I just nodded, slowly. Do it. She didn't even blink. She smiled. Like a shark. We drafted the paperwork that night. Notarized, signed, and time-stamped. Emily couriered it the next morning, just for dramatic effect. Jake got served while eating a bowl of my cereal, with my spoon. That was the day I stopped waiting for Karma to do her job and decided to become Karma's middle manager. I went nuclear, methodically. called the HOA and anonymously reported an unauthorized subtenant and improper business activity from my address. The rep was all too excited to investigate. They sent a formal inquiry letter the next day, CC'd to my email. Went to our apartment manager, who happens to hate freeloaders, and showed her the ring footage of Jake bragging about squatting. She smiled like she'd just been handed a winning lottery ticket. And best of all, I reported his fake consulting LLC to the state licensing board. Emily helped me write it in proper legalese: suspected misuse of residential address for unregistered business activity, possible tax evasion, attached evidence for review. I didn't even have to fake the drama. Jake was the drama. But the part that sealed the deal? I found his burner Instagram. It was under a fake name, but the genius tagged himself in a post at my house. Caption: stacking bread while these suckers pay rent. Hashtag grind life, hashtag stay winning, hashtag manifestation is real. Oh, sweetie. I made a second anonymous email. Sent it directly to his ex-wife. Screenshots. Timestamped. Link to the IRS tip form. And, just to add seasoning to the meal, I included a screenshot of the Peloton he claimed he gave back during the divorce. Still visible in the Airbnb pic. That chain reaction? I'm still watching it unfold. But here's the thing that surprised even me. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. I should have, maybe. I mean, he's my brother. Blood and all that. But sitting there, watching him rage text someone about how everyone's out to get him, I realized I didn't feel hate. I felt clean. This wasn't revenge. This was housekeeping. Emily looked over at me that night and said, "You okay?" I said, "Better than okay." Because I knew the next phase was coming. Jake wasn't going to go down without making a scene. And I was ready for it. Jake's unraveling wasn't loud at first. It started slow. Passive-aggressive fridge notes. Petty insults under his breath. That twitchy look in his eye like a man realizing the gravy train was about to crash, and he was chained to the engine. Then the eviction notice got posted on the front door. Certified, notarized, hand-delivered by a guy Emily knew from her firm named Calvin, who looks like he wrestles bears recreationally. Jake opened the door in a bathrobe and boxers, saw the notice, saw Calvin, and slammed the door without a word. I watched it all through the Ring camera while sipping my coffee. I named the video file checkmate.mov. And then he panicked. Tried to play nice. Came into the kitchen the next morning, all smiles. "Bro, listen. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot. We're family. I'm just going through a rough patch." He even tried to hug me. The same guy who called me a dumbass to his buddy on the phone and laughed about living here for free. I stepped back. Told him, "Jake, I didn't evict you out of spite. I evicted you because you're a parasite." His smile cracked. Then he went for the classic deflection. "You think Emily's not using you, bro? She's just trying to control you with all this legal crap. You ever watch someone dig their own grave and then demand a ladder halfway down?" Emily was in the next room. She walked in, calm as a summer breeze, and said, "Controlling him? Sweetie, I gave him the tools. He built the gallows." Jake froze. Probably because she was holding her laptop, which had his entire fake consulting business pulled up on the screen courtesy of a subpoena she helped fast-track through a friend at the licensing board. She set the laptop down, tapped a few keys, and flipped the screen around. "Jake, did you know that filing a fraudulent business address is considered a felony in this state?" He turned pale. Not pale like embarrassment. Pale like, "I'm about to Google how to live in Mexico without an extradition treaty." "And funny enough," she continued, "your little Airbnb hustle? The one you never declared? The state tax board's going to love that one. We forwarded it with timestamps." Jake tried to talk. Emily just raised a hand. "Don't bother. I've already spoken to your ex-wife's attorney. That Peloton in the background? She's filing for asset concealment." Boom. That's when it really started to spiral. Jake packed in a frenzy that night, slamming drawers and muttering to himself. I made sure the Ring cam in the guest room was recording, just in case he tried anything dumb. Emily sat beside me on the couch with a glass of wine and a smug look that could turn water into ice. But the crown jewel? That came the next day. Jake tried to move the rest of his stuff in a borrowed truck. Except HOA had already flagged his license plate for unauthorized business activity. Security wouldn't let him through the gate. He had to walk to the front door, sweating and fuming, only to find all his belongings neatly boxed, labeled, and sitting in the driveway like a sponsored eviction. On top of the final box, a printed copy of his burner Instagram post. The one with the caption, "Stacking bread while these suckers pay rent." I added my own sticky note. Not anymore. Good luck stacking from a sidewalk. Neighbors watched. A few waved. One even offered him a bottle of water. Jake, red-faced and humiliated, loaded up his crap in silence. I swear I saw tears. I felt nothing. No rage. No joy. Just closure. By the end of the day, he was gone. But the fallout? Oh, that had just begun. Jake was gone, but the smell of desperation and Axe body spray lingered like a curse. I thought that would be the end of it. Boxes gone, locks changed, Ring camera turned off. But what I didn't realize is that when you push someone like Jake off a cliff, you don't have to watch him hit the bottom. You'll hear it. Loud. Messy. Beautiful. It started 3 days later with a voicemail from an unknown number. The message? From Jake's ex-wife's lawyer. Thank you for the screenshots. We've reopened discovery and filed a motion for concealed assets. You may be subpoenaed as a witness. Emily squealed when she heard it. Literally squealed. Said it was the legal equivalent of fireworks on the 4th of July. Turns out that Peloton? Community property. So were the watches, the camera gear, the consulting income, and my personal favorite, the fake LLC he'd been using to dodge spousal support. His ex's lawyer filed for back payments with interest. That alone would have been poetic justice. But it didn't stop there. The IRS sent a notice to my address marked Correspondence, Potential Fraud Review. I didn't open it, just forwarded it to his last known mailing address. But I did highlight the line that said immediate action required to avoid escalation. Then his old job, the one he got fired from but never stopped bragging about, got wind of everything. How? Oh, maybe because someone anonymously emailed HR screenshots of Jake advertising himself as a lead consultant for a business that didn't exist, using a company-issued laptop he never returned. I heard through a mutual friend that they're pursuing civil charges. Oops. But you know what really brought it all home? The group chat. The same one he used to talk trash about me. The one I was quietly removed from months ago after he moved in. One night, I got a message from Matt, one of Jake's old gym buddies. It just said, "Bro, check this out." Attached, a screenshot of Jake blowing up the group chat. Caps lock on. Full meltdown. Everyone turned on me. Sal is a psychopath. His lawyer girlfriend ruined my life. I'm living out of a motel. You think this is funny? And then, the best part. Someone tell me who reported me to the IRS. I will find you. Q Matt replying, "Bro, you literally posted about it yourself." On Instagram. With hashtags. I read that line at least 6 times. Tears in my eyes. Laughed like a man who had finally flushed the last turd in the bowl. Jake's social media dried up shortly after that. He nuked the burner account, set everything to private, and stopped posting motivational quotes entirely. Guess it's hard to grind in silence when the silence is coming from the Department of Revenue. The last I heard, he was couch surfing with some girl who thought consulting meant he actually had a job. Her roommate found out the truth and kicked them both out. Allegedly, he's trying to sell sneakers online to rebuild. Godspeed. I, meanwhile, hosted a barbecue. Invited the neighbors. Played music. Made ribs. Emily brought out a cake that said sucker-free zone and cursive frosting. I cut the first slice with the same kitchen knife Jake once used to cut his protein bars without cleaning it. Full circle. It's been 3 months since Jake dragged the last box of his essentials read, a broken speaker, 3 graphic tees, and a vape charger out of my house. No dramatic farewell, no final apology. Just the sound of my front door closing and silence so thick it felt like peace. I changed the locks. Repainted the guest room. Got rid of the smell of expired cologne and entitlement. Bought a plant for the windowsill and named it Baccarat. For the first time in a long time, my home felt like mine. Emily and I are still together stronger, honestly. There's something deeply bonding about tag-teaming legal vengeance with someone you love. She says watching me stand up for myself was hot in a slow burn, emotionally matured man kind of way. I'll take it. We talk about moving in together. Maybe getting a dog. I told her if we do, I'm naming it Jake. She said no, too insulting to the dog. I'd be lying if I said I don't think about him sometimes. Not with rage. Not even with satisfaction. Just clarity. Jake always believed the world owed him something. A couch to crash on. A second chance. An endless supply of forgiveness. And for a while, I fed into that. I thought being family meant tolerating disrespect until it wore you thin. But what I learned, the hard way, is that some people only understand boundaries when they slam into them face first. And sometimes, you have to be the wall. I never got a thank you. Never got an, I'm sorry. I don't need either. Because for the first time, I'm not cleaning up someone else's mess. I'm not footing the bill for someone else's ego. I'm not the dumbass in the hallway holding laundry while someone laughs about screwing me over. I'm the guy who made a plan, took his shot, and won. Is it petty? Sure. Is it justice? Also yes. And in the quiet moments, when I'm reading on the couch, with the windows open and the world finally calm, I think about that manila envelope. The smirk Jake had before he realized who signed it. Emily A. Reynolds, ESQ. He called me the dumbass. But I'm the one who dated the lawyer.